So I'm a poet and an essayist and cultural critic, and I got started here in Columbus by writing music criticism, mostly in my apartment for no one. Um, and then I began writing poems in my apartment, mostly for no one. And somewhere at the intersection of those things, I think I built a pretty strong, both critical and poetic voice.
From the humid brick building below my humid brick building, a woman bellows at the pizza man, who, it seems, threw no cheese atop the crust in its red river of sauce because, as he shouts above the sirens of State Street and the growing crowd lined outside his shop, it is Friday night, and he is woefully short on mozzarella. And there are far better pizza options on every corner of this city, overpriced, and tonight bursting at the seams with lonely people who will seek the warmth spilling from the edges of a cardboard box and onto their laps and into their fingers on the walk back to a newly empty apartment.
What makes my work original, or what makes anyone from this city's work original, is the choice that we all make as artists and creatives to stay here and attempt to articulate our city for the world in a way that is richly specific but also universal.
I love the heat for how it separates the desire for touch from the practicality of it. If it gets too hot for love, as it did for Mookie and Tina, then we're all on our own sinking islands anyway. There is no cheese in this town anymore. And what could be worse than the fraction of a dream behind every door you crawl to? It is Friday, and surely some of my people are praising the fresh coin in their bank accounts. And what a tragedy to spend it on a half-finished freedom. And the argument below has poured out into the streets and the waiting masses, and I imagine this is no longer over cheese, but over every mode of unfulfilled promise. The cluster of sins still stuck to a body fresh from the waters of baptism. The parent who must dig a grave for their youngest child. From below, a man yells, "There are only 3 ingredients. You can't even get that right." And isn't it funny to vow you will love someone until you are dead?
I mean, some of my biggest goals in Columbus are trying to find ways to support young artists, support writers, support activists in the city. The question of how to get started writing a poem for me is interesting because I don't like to imagine myself as ever finished any poem or anything. There's that thing I write about in the Tribe Called Quest book about how their first 3 albums were kind of this continual process of working. Like they never left the studio. They just kept churning towards their own growth in the process. And I think writing is a lot like that. Where if I set something down, if I say, well, I'm done with this for now, what I'm actually saying is, I've done the best I can with the tools I have at this moment. The process of starting a poem for me is the work of never finishing and never counting myself as done. Done for the moment or done with what I could do at that time, but not complete.